Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while since the last time I updated, but things have been a little bit hectic here on our tiny little homestead.
When it comes to parenting, you're a pro.
What a beautiful day. Oh! Help! You're a monster! A monster! Ah! The main topic will be about our permaculture orchard and it in its first year and what I'm trying to accomplish and the methods that I'm going about to obtain that. When I first started doing research on property, on what I wanted to accomplish, I kept coming back to the idea of increasing the value for our household. I wanted to have an overabundance of resources to where we not only had enough for our personal use, but also had enough to barter with and even to donate. I wanted to include fruit trees, nut trees, shrubs, and also various herbs and flowers and anything else that we could have use for. And alongside this, I also wanted to have things that would be beneficial for the wildlife. Things like serviceberry trees, which have berries which we can eat, are also desired by birds. And so I really started looking into this, and I started with a fruit tree guild. So in order to learn about fruit trees, I went to the local library and I started doing research. And I extended that research online and looked into various papers and videos regarding their care and maintenance. And then I opened up the doors to the concept of permaculture. Now, permaculture has tree guilds which involve planting various things around trees in order to benefit their growth. And this sounded very ideal, to have an area that would have reduction in issues. In an ideal situation, I did not want to utilize any chemicals on property. And in order to do that, and also to reduce the amount of work, I wanted to utilize permaculture techniques in order to get that accomplished. Some of the basics of a tree guild has the following things used in it. Accumulators, which have deep roots to mine up nutrients. Attractors, to draw in pollinators. Fixers, which add extra nitrogen. Mulchers, which have large leaves and can also slowly add nutrients into the soil. Suppressors, which help to reduce weeds. And repellers, which help to chase away bugs that would be detrimental to the plants, such as fruit trees. Now, these are marvelous ideas, but one thing that I noticed which was problematic was that there was such a copy and paste attitude with permaculture. Oftentimes I found the very same plants recommended on every single site. If you looked up Tree Guild and what was a good mulching plant, everybody would say Comfrey. Some would even include hostas. But neither of those are native to my area. And I found it problematic when I tried to look up even native plants permaculture or Ohio native plants permaculture or tried to look up anything with that. I was having great difficulty. And even difficulty in finding any scientific research that validated the micro and macronutrients that Comfrey brought to the table. But everybody was talking about how beneficial it was. these almost now archaic forms of permaculture to utilize instead native plants. Because what I found from any of my research was that these plants fulfilled not just one of these categories, but several of them. And each plant would do at least 3 to 4 of these items on list. It then became really clear to me that if I really wanted to work with the land, I needed to do just that. I needed to choose options that were going to be optimal at bringing in native bees and also beneficial bugs. And I needed to plant things on property that were going to be powerhouses, that were going to draw in and keep and maintain colonies of beneficial bugs and wildlife in order to reap the greatest benefits. The design that I worked with for the area was going to be a 48 by 48 square foot area with at least 2 feet going around the entire perimeter. The 2 feet around the perimeter was going to help with the reduction of mowing in the early stages, and then later would be easier to incorporate other areas of landscaping in and around that. So this 2-foot area going around, I would plant clover and native flowers, and then eventually start incorporating the other areas, such as up front on the property, next to the road, and towards the back where we wanted to include a greenhouse and an area for growing large crop. Within the tree area itself, I designed for at least 12 fruit-bearing trees that were about semi-dwarf size to fit within this area, of course being pruned accordingly. I was going to include 2 hazelnut shrubs, and also I planted 2 of the hardy figs that I had on property that did not do so well in another location. In each of these 5 areas, I made a plan for bee balm or bergamot, several perennial choices that would help to bring in pollinators, that I would include garlic, which would be a nice suppressor, and I could also pull that up and utilize that for our household. Nodding onion, which is also attractive to pollinators and also a suppressor. Asters, which bring in a lot of beneficial bugs. And then in various locations around, including purple and white prairie clover, which was listed as being one of the highest things to bring nutrients up with their giant taproots, getting them established in an area where you want to keep them, and also reaping the benefits of attracting native bees, including bumblebees that are in danger. I also wanted to do various shrubs like New Jersey teas, meadowsweet, Joe Pye, and then at the very entrance to this area, we have trumpet vine, which was going to be cut down and a trellis put in, and then retrain it to go over the trellis. The trellis that I'm going to put in is just going to be a cattle panel that'll be raised up a little bit. So currently I got a few things planted for the initial year. I did get quite a number of native plants, including things like lead plant, foxglove beard tongue, blue vervain, wild basil, hard aster, smooth aster, showy goldenrod, shale barren aster, lanceleaf coreopsis, Canada anemone, swamp milkweed, great blue lobelia, New England aster, dusk blazing star, golden alexander. But I do have space for more, and I'm going to get more milkweed, and I'm also going to get a few more part shade options. The trees themselves that I've gotten so far is I got a Belle of Georgia peach, and also a July Prince peach, a Jonah Gold apple, Golden Delicious apple, Granny Smith apple. I got 2 plums, Burbank and Bruce. And now I just need to get 2 cherries, another pear, and I'd like to get a Honeycrisp apple. Now I want to get an apricot, but I'll end up just squeezing that in another location on property. So this year I managed to get a number of things planted and established, and I still have a little bit more room available as wiggle room. And many of the native plants that I have put in there also need to work with competition with native grasses, which I do have some native grasses growing in the area. And those will be cultivated in and around where those flowers are to help things such as the sunflower grow up more instead of falling over. When I started the area, I got free mulch, and this entire area was mulched with what I obtained. This helped to suppress the weeds for the most part. It makes it easier for me to pull up any plants that are not desirable, but it did create an ideal environment for mock strawberries, which although are not desirable, and I will slowly weed them out over time, they do help to suppress, but I do want to replace them with native wild strawberries instead. But that will take a number of years before I can get that going. And many of the areas where I have native plants and shrubs will overtake those areas. So generally only the inner circle area is what I want to focus with on putting wild strawberries in. So I'm going to wait for things to get a little bit more established before I do that. And I will work at laying down cardboard and also any cloth to help to reduce those weeds. If you were to start from scratch an area to plant native in, it is generally recommended that you do the long draw and you lay down weed suppressors and heavily maintain that area for almost 2 years before actually planting. Because many seeds of invasive species can sit dormant for a number of years, it is generally recommended that you take that extent. I have been able to completely remove in one area an infestation of thistles. There were so many in an area, and in one season I reduced them almost to zero. In 2 seasons I managed to get all of these small ones, and I have not seen any thistles in that area ever since. Of course, I do remain diligent. So with the Fruit Tree Guild, it will require diligence for a while until it gets established, and then from there it will set up. But I wanted to cover what my plan was for this area, what I had already accomplished, and what I'm already starting to see. I'm already starting to see a lot of the garlic that I planted just a month ago come up, and I was worried about it getting overwatered because of the amount of rain that we've had, and I was worried about the garlic rotting, but it actually has done very well with the amount of nutrients in the soil. The trees themselves have been trimmed before planting, and several of these trees were heavily discounted, so I'm hoping for the best because I took what was available. So I try to cut costs here, get free mulch, and make organic compost. So with that said, that is my fruit tree plan for this year. And moving forward, there'll be updates on everything that I want to get accomplished. As always, I appreciate your views, liking and subscribing to my channel. And I'll keep trying to put these updates out when I can and I'm not chasing children around.